never met before, my name is Lance. I'm so glad you decided to check out LifePoint this weekend. I'm a friend of LifePoint's, and at this point, coming around so much, you're nearly stuck with me. And so I'm so glad that I got to be here this Sunday and hang out with you guys. Pastor Rusty is back up next week, and I promise you it's going to be a way better message than this week. And so you got to make sure, if you are brand new, welcome to LifePoint. I'm so glad you're here. I love what they said in that video right there. If you fill out a Connect card today, they're going to make a donation in your name to a local charity, and I think you can barter with them. You can barter with the amount out there, get out the Connect Center, say like, hey, double it. Come on, don't be stingy. And maybe they'll do it. But the good news is, whether or not you buy into faith, the great news is, just by showing up today and dropping a Connect card, you made a positive difference just by showing up today. So I'm so glad to be a part of a church that loves to be generous and not just talk about generosity. And so, man, it's fun to be up here. And on my way up, I saw a van as I drove by, and this happens to me all the time. I feel like I see people that market, and they feel like they've spent a lot of money on marketing. You know those people that I'm talking about? Like, they've wrapped all their vehicles for their company, and they have all this stuff, and I honestly don't even remember the name of the company, but I remember the values that were underneath it. It said honesty, integrity, and excellence. And I'm like, wow, those are awesome values. But it said nothing about what the company did. Like, it didn't even, are you a plumber? Do you make cement? What do you do that's so awesome? Are you a lawyer? Like, what is your company about? Because I like the values from a distance, but I'm not sure I actually understand what's happening. And what I love about a series like this is it hopes to bring clarity to okay, if I'm going to be a follower of Jesus, what am I actually signing up for? Is it just honesty, integrity, awesome? Is that what I'm signing up for? Or is there something that actually dictates what the way forward looks like? What does it look like for me to engage as a follower of Jesus? What is the mission that God put us on? Because it doesn't matter what organization you're a part of, it doesn't matter what job you have, what your title is. We all have a goal and a mission that's been given to us directly. Sometimes it looks like a job description for you. Sometimes it's looked like a career choice. Sometimes you know what it looks like. And as a follower of Jesus, the same thing is true. Inside your notes when you came in, you were handed a little outline when you came in. Inside of it, there is an outline to follow along with the message. For some of you, I know you love to do that. And in fact, last time I was here at one of the services, I forgot the last blank. And there were a couple people that came up to me afterwards just itchy. They were like, please tell me what the last fill-in is. Please, I am not ready for this. I thought they were going to have a good moment, or they were going to admit they were on meth. But they were like, no, I need the fill-in. So today I'm going to do a really good job knocking through all these fill-ins. And if I don't, you just start a little fire. Wherever you're at, I'll see the smoke and I'll know to circle back on a fill-in. But the first thing that you're going to see in there is a verse, and this is Jesus actually reflecting to the Heavenly Father, thinking, you know what? I think there's something significant about a mission, about clarity of what our goal, role, and purpose is in our life. And here's what he says in John 17:17. Here's what it says: in the same way that you gave me a mission in the world, I give them a mission in the world as well. In the same way, God, that you gave me a mission, this is Jesus talking, this is pretty significant. In the same way that you gave me a mission, I want to give them a mission as well. I want to give them a clear purpose, a driving force, and a direction, something to accomplish, more than just some good ethics, which I think Jesus did bring some killer ethics and teachings to the table. I think there's a driving force behind what we do. And I want to preface today's message with something really clear. Usually, a lot of my messages will kind of aim and tilt towards the person who is maybe new to faith, figuring out faith, still skeptical along the edge. Today is going to lean a little bit more for those of us who are followers of Jesus. This is a call and a challenge that Jesus puts in our place. So if we were to say, you know what, I'm in, I don't have the full Bible memorized yet, I'm not doing that kind of stuff, but I am trying to follow Jesus with my life, this is going to be a message for us. And if you're here or you're watching online and you say, yeah, that's not me yet, the great news is today you get a peek behind the curtain of Oz. Today you get to look a little bit and say okay, if I were to sign up for this maybe cult, I'm going to see what this is actually about. So either way, I think this is a killer message for you, because either you get to explore what you already committed to, or for some of you, you get a little peek of what it will look like to follow Jesus better. And one of the greatest examples that we have in the Bible, in the New Testament, after Jesus' death and resurrection is a guy named Paul. Paul planted a ton of churches, was an incredibly educated theologian, brought a ton of people to Christ, and really had a laser-focused mission that I think a lot of us can keen into. And we see it in Acts 20:24. It says this, "However, I consider my life worth nothing to me." What a great opener to a Bible verse. You're guys like, wow, that's sad. My only aim is to finish the race, to complete the task that the Lord Jesus has given me. And what is that task? The task of testifying to the good news of God's grace. Testifying to the good news of God's grace that has changed my life, that has changed the way I view, that has changed my relationships, that has changed the way that I operate, changed the way that I interact with the world. I think about myself, I think about other people, people's value, people's opinions. It has changed all of it based on God's grace. Nothing that I did, nothing that I earned, nothing that I worked hard enough for. It wasn't a degree or reputation or a title or a number in my bank account. No. What I want to tell people about is God's grace in my life. And one of the things that I love about this church is the mission statement is so simple. This is going to be one of your first fill-ins here is simply this. The church's mission is to help people find and follow Jesus. In fact, the mission statement here at LifePoint is people helping people find and follow Jesus. I love that. It's people like you and me. We make up the church. If you're wondering like, oh man, what is the church made of? It's you and me. Once you look around and go like, man, maybe this is a pretty good team. I don't know. I like this service. This is better than the other services. So like, come on. This is like, we have a pretty good team here. We're people helping people find and follow Jesus. And as a pastor, man, I have some of the best conversations. They're just funny. And a lot of times people will say like, man, I feel like you have an agenda when you're speaking. Duh. Yeah, like, of course I have an agenda. My agenda is to help you find and follow Jesus. Like, I'm going to be very candid about it. Like, yes, I want to get you saved. I'll do whatever means necessary. I don't even care. Like, we'll show a funny clip about weed. I don't even know. Like, whatever you need. We're going to make it happen. Why? What's our agenda? To help you find and follow Jesus. And the greatest news is we are people coming together, helping people find and follow Jesus. So not only is it a process that we're in, but it's a process we hope to help others experience as well. And in the church, we've come up with a word for it that it might be foreign, it might feel a little clunky to you guys, but and honestly, for some of you, it might bring up something a little bit bristly, but here's what I see. Our personal mission is evangelism. Evangelism. It's a church word, and I get it. Some church words we're down with. Prayer, I'm like, yeah, I get prayer. That's great. It's awesome. Prayer is a good thing. Generosity, like, sure, yeah, I'll do that sometimes too. Forgiveness, if I have to. You know, like there's certain things that they're spiritual ideas, that are faith-driven ideas that we can get on board with, but evangelism is simply the idea of sharing my personal faith with other people with the goal of that they find and follow Jesus. And now, if you're like me, you might get a little bit of a bristly feeling inside. And it's understandable because I don't like being told what to think, and I don't like being told what to believe. So why would anyone else like if I try and tell them what to think and what to believe? So like evangelism, this idea of like, hold on, so I got to go tell you what to think and believe. Like, no, I'll just leave that to the people on Facebook who love to tell people what to think and believe. You know what I mean? They have no problem with that. So we'll leave it to them. And unfortunately, all of us normal people, I'm going to categorize you in as normal people. I'm just going to categorize us all together. We all got our own little bit of funk, but all of us, when we abdicate our responsibility to just talk about the hope that we have in Jesus, we leave it to the people who are outspoken, boisterous, and let's be honest, sometimes a little extra. You know, like there's just, we abdicate our position to bring hope to people because we feel like this is uncomfortable. And I promise you this, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. I think there's a way better way that we can do this. And if you're really honest, you're evangelist about a lot of things. I'm an evangelist about a ton of things. If I try a new restaurant, I tell everybody I know if I love it. You have to go try this. I'll tell you what, I am a double stuffed Oreo evangelist. I am. I will tell you, there's one man of God right there. I love this. I'm a double stuffed Oreo evangelist. Single stuffed Oreo? Nope, it's too weak. Doesn't do it. It's bad cookie to cream ratio. That is not what you want. And they came out, this is craziness. I saw this the other day. They came out with triple stuffed Oreos Are you a lunatic? Are you a serial killer? That is disgusting. That is way too much cream for anyone's needs. It is unnecessary. It is reckless. It is disgusting. I mean, triple stuff, gross. Double stuff, just right. It is absolutely unbelievable. So, we're walking down a cookie aisle together, you and I as friends. We'll skip by everything. You try and grab a Fig Newton? Oh my gosh. What? A Fig Newton? You're disgusting. Double stuff Oreos or nothing. Come on. You can get bold about opinions too. You get bold about your favorite movie. When your favorite movie comes up and you're like, yes, that show that you watched, and you just start to evangelize a show. Have you ever had somebody evangelize a show to you before? They just like play their hand. No, listen, you have to watch this show. I'm a Shark Tank evangelist too. I don't know if anyone else likes Shark Tank in here. No, okay. No, never mind. We'll skip past. Double stuffed Oreos are so good. No, come on, we evangelize about everything. We do this all the time, and all it takes is natural. It doesn't have to be weird, it doesn't have to be forced, it doesn't have to be clunky. But the good news is it's something that's hardwired in us anyway. Why? Because if we know something good, if we discover something good, of course we want to talk about it. That's called friendship. That's called respect for another person. If there's something that's changed your life, of course, you're going to talk about it the same way that double stuffed Oreos changed my life on a way too frequent basis. But here's the challenge that I think Jesus gives us, and this is just a ton of clarity. This is a challenge, and again, if you're a follower of Jesus, this isn't really optional. Evangelism isn't based on personality, because you're probably thinking, well, yeah, you look extroverted, and you're fine. You like talking in front of people, and that's all good, and you like Oreos, and that's fine. It feels like you can put it together, and you did the whole Bible school thing, so you understand it better than I do, so we're going to leave it to people like you, and people like Rusty, and people like Doug, who can just intimidate people with how jacked he is, and he can get them to come to know Jesus that way. You know what I mean? Like, we all have our thing. He's a little church bouncer out here, and we'll leave that to you guys, because that seems like a you guys thing. Let me just tell you, this isn't a personality thing, it's a purpose thing, right? This isn't a personality thing where you get, maybe some people leave it to the extroverts. It's like, no, this is a purpose thing that Jesus put inside of each and every one of us. Here's what we see in Matthew 28, 19 and 20. Go out and train everyone you meet, far and near, in this way of life, this way that really leads to life. Marking them by baptism in the threefold name, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Then instruct them in the practice of all that I have commanded you, to help people find and follow Jesus. Well, isn't that crazy? We didn't even make it up. Jesus made it up. It's great. And then this is so good. I'll be with you as you do this, day after day after day, right up to the end of the age. Day after day after day. You know what he doesn't say? Sunday after Sunday after Sunday. It's day after day. It's every day. It's every day you wake up, you take breath, and you have the opportunity to have a conversation. And I realize this, that you're smart, you're educated people, so there's natural apprehensions that come up when it comes up with the idea of it. And I'm not naive. A lot of times we would end a message with just simply like, all right, go get them. You know what I mean? It just feels like a halftime, like a pep talk you'd get in the locker room. We'd open up the doors and we'd say, let's go get them all saved, and it'd be great. But come on, let's be honest with each other for a moment. There's some natural apprehensions that come up. There's some natural things that I think if we're not intentional about or tactical about, if we don't have our goals set up well, if we're not clear in what we're doing, then I think this can get sideways really quick. And it can turn into just go be positive, go be a light to the world, and go do those things. But I think there's some apprehensions that we can address. If we get clarity on these, it can change the way that we focus on talking about our faith, talking about the way forward. Sound good? You guys in for a couple of these? I think these are going to be really fun. I don't know. I wrote them, so I'm a little biased. So here we go. Reasons that you're apprehensive. Number one is this. This is the question that you ask yourself. It's simply this. What if they bring up something I don't know about? What if they bring up something that I don't know about? What if I say, hey, come on, it gets to the point naturally, and it's not forced, not awkward, and all of a sudden faith comes up, and they go, well, yeah, but what about like dinosaurs in the Bible? And you go, it's a good question. Rusty hasn't talked about dinosaurs yet. I don't know. Well, what about the Crusades? What about this one thing that I heard about this one thing and the Big Bang, and then there's this star, and then there's this other thing, and hey, what about this one verse? And I'm not sure that I know about this verse. And so out of an apprehension of the fact that I don't know everything, the fact that I haven't figured it all out, I don't have all the right answers, and what if they bring up the one area that I don't know about, we can get into a really weird spot. And then it's just like, man, what do I do? Like, I'm not sure how to do this. So I'm going to give you some really practical steps here. They're not in your notes, but I promise you, these you could write them down if you want to. You want to know an awesome response to a question you don't know about your faith? Ready for this? Ready? I think it's going to come up on the screen. Here's what it is. Great question. Period. Now, a lot of times as followers of Jesus, we feel the prompting and the desire to go, great question, semicolon, made up answer. Like that's what we feel the pressure to defend God and say like, well, yeah, but I think there's this part in there. And I think God's word says, don't ever question me, you're going to get struck by lightning. So there, like that's what, and then we get to this weird place where we feel like we have to defend God. Well, let me just ease you of that responsibility. I'm going to give you this great tool. Great question. Great question. It's a great question. Because if you ever run into somebody who's figured out faith, who's figured out the Bible front and back, run. They are a heretic. Like that person is insane. None of us have it all figured out yet. The Bible is very clear. God speaks to this directly and said there's certain things that you're just not going to get this side of heaven. There's certain things that are above your understanding. My ways are greater than your ways. So it's trying to explain why good things happen to bad people, why all these things, why bad things happen to good people. Like, I don't know. I can't always figure out. Great question. You want to know what the fun answer is, though? This one's a little bit more fun. A little deceptive, but a little bit more fun. They bring up a question. Hey, what about dinosaurs? This could be your response. Great question. I think they're going to talk about that this Sunday. You should come. Dinosaurs, they're actually bringing in this like paleontologist pastor this Sunday, I believe, and he's going to talk about it. Oh, they didn't this Sunday? Well, it's next Sunday then. Shoot, they got to come back next Sunday. And I know this might seem squirrely, but the great answer is, I don't know. It's a great question. Let's figure it out together. Because isn't that how we navigate our faith? Great question. I'm going to continue to believe, but let's figure it out together. Let's continue to press in. Let's learn more. Let's continue to invest more. Let's discover more about God. Hopefully you walk in and out every Sunday with a new concept and a broadening view of what God is doing in your life, in this world, and in this community, and your family, and the people around you, and the people you love. So the greatest thing is this one, though, and this one's biased. This was a little bit of cultural context for me, is I'm going to be honest, one of the things that I vandalized about the most is Salt and Straw ice cream, because where I'm at, we have Salt and Straw ice cream. Some of you have known the light, and you see in full color, and you've tried Salt and Straw ice cream, and it's absolutely amazing. So I'm going to let you contextualize this, but this is always my favorite response to somebody. Great question. I think they're talking about this Sunday, and I'll buy you Salt and Straw after. Like, that's my greatest response. For you, it might be crumble cookie. I don't know what it is. I've heard that's kind of going off around. Lake Stevens Donuts. I heard that's spectacular. That's a new spot. Whatever it is for you. A Denny's Grand Slam afterwards. Whatever it happens to be for you. But the great news is, great question. I think they're talking about it this Sunday. I'd love to buy you food after, and nobody says no to food. If you want to insert double stuffed Oreos, I'm going to let you do that as God is willing and figure that out. But the great thing is that people are open to a conversation as long as you don't try and pretend to have all the answers. And for those of us that have to deal with maybe some of the cleanup of people who have tried with the best intentions and an incredible heart to try and fill in the gaps when they don't know all the answers, I just warn you of this. Sometimes it can do more harm than good. Sometimes, I promise you, even with the best intentions, it can do more harm than good to try and fill in an answer or solve a problem that we may not have the answers to here and now. Sound good? So hopefully that feels a little freeing to you guys. Here's the second one for you. This one's so good. What if I offend them? What if I offend them? What if I bring something to us? And it could be weird. Because here's what I've known to be true, that you know this to be true. Faith is like politics. It's way more fun to talk about when we already agree, right? Like, it's just way more fun to talk about when we already agree. Like when I walk into a political conversation and I know we already agree, this is easy. Faith conversations are the same way. If I already know that we agree on a faith level, like, way more fun to talk about. But if I tread into something and maybe you're going to get offended, it's going to be weird, and we're going to break a relationship, and it feels like, man, did I just navigate that wrong? But here's what I found to be true. You ready for this deep truth? This is a deep psychological, sociological truth about how we're all wired. People often get offended when we're offensive. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that deep? Isn't that good? People get offended when we're offensive. And so often with our faith, we get offensive in ways that are just so baffling. I've heard people say this out loud when they're trying to talk to somebody about the hope of Jesus. Man, I think you really need God's grace. What? Like, no, stop. I want to like kick them in the shins. I'm like, I don't agree with them. Like, what a weird thing to say. Like, oh man, you are certainly in need of redemption, aren't you? You know what I mean? Wow, God could really teach you to forgive. I'm like, what are we watching, Mean Girls? Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you saying that? Like, why do you feel like that's an appropriate response to start with the worst of you and talk about how God can make you better? You want to know what everyone's least favorite topic is? The worst part of themselves. Like, that's their least favorite topic. Man, I bet you regret that. The good news is God can bring grace. What? Like, no, I don't want to talk about my deepest, darkest sins with you. I don't want to talk about my regrets and everything right away. Like, it's a difficult thing to talk about. And it reminds me of my brother, because my brother is vegan. And I don't know if you've ever met somebody who's vegan before. And I'm not throwing any shade. If you're here and you're vegan, way to go you. Because here's what I know. Come on, you know this to be true. I've seen the Netflix documentaries. I've done the articles. I've read the stuff. I get it. I would be a healthier person if I were vegan. It would be better for the earth. Like, I get all the arguments. But if you lead the conversation as a vegan with, you are an animal murderer, like, guess what? I just don't want to talk to you anymore. Like, that's it. Like, if you want to start the conversation with how horrible and nasty and disgusting that you think I am, great. Leave me alone. Like, that is a surefire way to get unfriended. That is a surefire way for make sure I never call you. That is a surefire way to never get invited over for dinner, is if you lead the conversation with, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you. You're so gross. Do you not realize you're killing your body? Do you not realize you're a horrible person and a disrespectful human being and you got to honor God's temple? I'm like, oh my gosh, leave me alone. Like, I'm just having a steak. Like, leave me alone. I'm having a good thing. You're making it a bad thing. Like, I don't know what it can be, but we are so quick to do this with faith. We take something that is so good and we start with what's so bad and we make it so weird, and shame on you and shame on you. And you should feel guilty enough. And our tactic, though we don't say this out loud, our tactic is, if I can make you feel bad enough about yourself, then you're going to need to look for a good God. If I can make you feel terrible enough about yourself, and maybe, just maybe, you grew up in a church like that. A church that said, if I can make you feel horrible enough about yourself, I can make you feel terrible and ashamed and guilty and just feel disgusting and terrible and like you've messed up your life, then maybe you're going to start to look for a good God. But I think there's so much better of a strategy, because what my brother does, he's smart. He's no dummy. He's smart. He comes to me with this. He says, hey, I know vegan's not your thing. That's fine. You do you. But can I buy dinner tonight? I'll buy dinner tonight. I'm going to take you to a vegan spot. And I know it might be different, but just to like try it. I'll buy, it'll be on me. And you want to know what the only thing I heard in that? I'll buy dinner. That's the only thing I heard. That's the only thing I heard. Sure, where are we going to go? I don't care. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And what if we approached our faith that way? What if we approached our faith open-handed with generosity first, with grace and compassion first? It was like, hey, come on, I know you have a ton of things that you can do this Sunday, but come on, why don't you come with? They're doing like a kids event. We try to make it easy. Your kids getting like all the stuff that's over. I saw balloons. I saw things like, I want to be in kids ministry right now. This is incredible. But what an opportunity that we have to bring hope in a way that's palatable. Because remember, people get offended when you're offensive. I know, that's the deep truths that you show up to LifePoint to hear. Here's what we see. The third one simply this. Isn't faith personal and private? Come on. Even if I don't offend them, and even if I do know most of the answers, isn't faith personal and private? I hear this all the time. This isn't a bad thing. And I think a lot of parts of our faith are personal and private. I think there are parts of faith that are meant for me and God. The Bible talks about, in fact, that prayer can be personal and private. That we don't have to stand on a street corner every time we pray and announce it to the world to feel extra spiritual, but it can be something that we draw in close with God. Generosity can be personal and private. The Bible talks about give so that the left hand may not know what the right hand is doing. Be generous in a way that you're not like, everybody, I'm giving. It's like, no. Generosity speaks for itself. But there's certain things about our faith, and maybe this isn't true of other faiths, but when it comes to the Christian tradition, when it comes to the Christian faith, when it comes to following Jesus, there's certain things that are not personal and private. In fact, baptism, one of my favorite weekends in church ever, is a public declaration of a personal faith and relationship with Jesus. There's something external that should manifest in our life when we're following Jesus well. And come on, I mean, if it doesn't, we're missing something. If we're given the keys to the greatest experience, to the greatest news, the greatest hope, the greatest source of joy, the greatest source of restoration and peace, of relationship with God, if we're given the keys to that, come on, you don't want to hold on to those keys. If a friend doesn't tell you about GameStop, they're not a friend. You know what I mean? Like, if they tell you later, like, hey, you should have invested, it's like, well, duh, thanks for telling me early. Like, now that it's all over, wait, great tip. But at the end of the day, like, we have an opportunity, and this is the craziest thing to think about. The only thing we get to bring to heaven is people. It's people. We don't get to bring our stuff. We don't get to bring the things that we try and earn, our titles. None of that stuff matters at the end of the day. People are what matter at the end of the day. And we have the opportunity. Come on, faith. Yes, there are certain elements that are personal and private, but if you're a follower of Jesus, listen to me, it is not intended to stay there. And I get, at this point, you're thinking, yeah, Lance, this is not my favorite message. I understand it. But here's one thing that I think it encourages so much. It says in Psalm 67:2, send us around the world with the news of your saving power and your eternal plan for all of mankind. And I think the news that we bring doesn't just have to be stuff that we talk about, but things that we can do. Which the next fill-in is simply this. People care less and less about the creeds of the church, but still take notice of our deeds. If you want to hear one thing that I'm just going to be honest, I live down in Seattle, and you want a neck of the woods with plenty of people who are skeptical, and not just skeptical, but downright against faith. Plenty of conversations that I've had that don't offend me. Come on, if I experienced what they experienced and was taught what they were taught and was raised the way they were raised, I believe the same thing they do. But come on, if you can meet people in the midst of that, I'm telling you, people are no longer impressed by what we talk about. The world is no longer impressed by your Facebook post. You know what I mean? I call it Faithbook because those opportunities that we have to say, like, God is so good, and we post it, and we expect everybody to just be like, yes! The already convinced say yes, everyone else goes, prove it. Prove it with everything else you do. And I'm telling you, I know this is challenging, this is hard, but let's just be real about the day and age that we live in. People are no longer impressed about what the church believes, but they are still impressed by what we do. Again, I just can't stop bragging about LifePoint. What I love about LifePoint, I feel like every time I come here, I hear about new things you're doing to serve the community, new ways that you're stepping out into this community to give back and make a difference and shape what's happening around us. And here's what I'd challenge you with. Don't let it just be a LifePoint thing. Make it a you thing. Make it a thing that you do with your life. Give that extra generous tip to the server right now who's having to wear a mask all day and still trying to serve things out and figure out, like, man, is my county at like full opening or 25%? I'm a restaurant now. Am I laid off this week, or am I not laid off this week, or do I have hours finally to take care of my family? Do I not? Come on. What if we as a church got to step in those kind of moments and meet tangible needs? I'm telling you, they will be far less impressed about the fact that you prayed before dinner, but they'll be far more impressed by how generous you were in your giving. And I knew it would get, I actually put in my notes, it will be silent right then at that point. I put that in there just to kind of like reassure myself that I was still a good communicator. Here we go. And here's what it says though. I mean, come on, if you want to talk about our agenda as far as this is where we started, and I'm going to close here in just in a second, I promise. But here's what it says in 2 Peter 3:9. It says this: God does not want anyone to be lost, but he wants all people to change their hearts and to change their lives. You want to talk about an agenda? You want to talk about a mission statement? You want to talk about an agenda for LifePoint, agenda for your life and for my life? What my wife and I, what my family has decided should be an agenda for our life, and every conversation, every relationship that we have is that people can change their hearts and change their lives. Because let's be honest, don't we all want to change our life? Don't we want to be a different person now than we were when we were 17? I hope I am. My God. My family hopes I am. My wife sure hopes I am. My kids hope I am. And here's the thing. Don't I want to be a different person when I'm 50? Don't want to have grown in my faith, grown in my relationships, grown in my challenges, grown in the things, grown in my capacity. And God wants to continue to stretch and grow our lives. Why? Not so we can feel self-served at the end of the day, but our opportunity to be leveraged for his kingdom and do something incredible with our life. Everybody talks about purpose nowadays. What's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my thing? What's my thing? What's my thing? I'm telling you, if your purpose ends with you, I think you're missing the mark. And if you're a follower of Jesus, I know you are. Because at the end of the day, your life isn't about what you can get out of it and how you can wring every drop of it out. At the end of the day, how you can wring it out to serve other people around you. You want to talk about a way forward? That's a way forward. Here's what we see. This is my very last point, and this is where we're going to close. Life change in you should yield life change through you. And I got all my points in that time. That feels good, huh? I got all the notes in. I think I got all the blanks unless they added one without my permission. Here we go. So, life change in you should yield life change through you. That at the end of the day, like if God's doing something in you, you want to know the way to tell. This is Jesus' words. This is not through mine. It's through the fruit that you're producing. I don't know about you, but I've met way too many people. And I would hate for you to be these people, but I've met way too many people who claim to be extra spiritual with no fruit in their life. Who claimed maybe you have the whole Bible memorized and you've been doing all these things and you pray every day and you've been fasting a ton and you've been doing all these things and that is awesome. But if your life isn't producing fruit by means of other people around you, then man, maybe we're missing the mark. Maybe we need to renegotiate what our relationship with Jesus looks like in a way that it changes the life of those around us, because of the most fulfilling conversations that I ever have. And it may not always happen in a moment, is because I took the chance to just talk to somebody about my faith. And I get it, I'm a pastor, but let's be honest, when I walk into Safeway, no one cares I'm a pastor. I don't have a Britney Spears mic on when I walk into Safeway. Like, that's not how it works. I'm just a normal person getting groceries, being friendly, and trying to talk about hope. So today, as we close, I want to close with this verse. And man, if we get this, I think it could change everything. And then we're going to pray. I'm going to send you on to a, 72-degree sunny day? Glory to God. Here we go. Mark 8:35. Only those who throw their lives away for my sake and for the sake of good news, this is so good, will ever know what it means to really live. To really live. Come on. Maybe you've been in a place. I don't know where you're at in your life. I don't know where you're at in the journey. Maybe you're in the fourth quarter. Maybe you're in the second quarter. Maybe you're figuring this whole thing out. I'm not sure. But the good news is, if you want to know what it's like to really live, start giving your life away. That is a way forward.